is dropped. So if you don't talk, if you have someone who doesn't talk, who doesn't move around, basically get disconnected. And there's also some features like MP_max rounds, which is 20. This basically means max number of rounds before the server changes the maps. Basically, it round robins the maps that we put on, which I'm gonna come back to later on. Basically, changes the maps after 20 rounds, pretty much. And MP_win limit is 10. This basically means max number of rounds one team can win before the server changes maps. So you don't always have one team, winning because someone sucked at one of the maps or something. For some of the bandwidth stuff, you can set something like 3000, and this basically means minimum bandwidth rate allowed on the server. And you can set it to 0 if you want. 0 basically means unlimited. And the same thing with max rate, which is, I'm just going to do that. Maximum bandwidth rate allowed on server. 0 is unlimited again. If you wanted to put 0, well, I can do 0 here, I guess. And let's see here. NSV_max update rate. So this basically means max updates per second that the server will allow. What this means is it basically updates the server every basically 100 updates per second. This goes hand to hand with the frames per second and what's the max that you can have. Again, it's entirely up to you. You can, if you don't want to set something, you can just leave that. It defaults to 0. And some of the more admin friendly stuff is this logs all the server bans in the server logs file, which I'm going to come back to later on. And log echo does something similar, which it basically echoes log information to the console, which as you said earlier, when I started the server, there was a that's the console. You can see all the logs messages over there. I'm gonna show you how. Well, I'm gonna play Counter-Strike later on, and I'm gonna show you how that works. SV_log file 1. This basically means log server information in the log file. SV log 1 file 0. This basically means whether to log server info to only one file or multiple files. If you set it to 0, it doesn't. It logs the server info to multiple files. If it's one, then it basically creates one huge file. And okay, here's the thing. Okay, this directory, this console commands first SV_logs dir. This basically specifies that we want this specific server logs placed in this folder called log server 1. So I haven't created the logs folder yet. We're going to create that later on, but that's where this logs would be stored. And log 1 basically means you're going to log the files. All the information. SV_LAN 0 basically means server is not a LAN server, which is local area network server. So people can log in from outside the network as well. SV region 0. This is the region of the world to report this server in. So if you do SV contact, you can put whatever you want, but this information would show up when someone tries to log into your server. And for the maps, map cycle file, map cycle server 1 CFG. So this is where all the maps names we're going to be storing, and this file is going to look for this file. map cycle server 1.cfg, and it's going to round robin the maps every 20 rounds according to what we had set up earlier, max rounds over here. After 20 rounds, it's going to move on to the next map, and so on and so forth. And you can also let's see here, you can also set up Motd, which is short for message of the day, and you can do that by using Motd file, Motd server 1.txt. Again, this file doesn't exist yet, but we're going to create that later on. This is basically let's see here. Well, yeah, I'm going to come back to that later on. Okay, so I'm just going to put something here. So this is going to have all the banned users and IP addresses, so it doesn't allow the players that we have banned to, so that it prevents them from logging into our server. For the map, and as you can see earlier, I have declared the map file that we're going to be using, but what you can do is you can set the command map, which is which basically starts the application with this map at first. That's all it does. Called gdust. That's the name of the map. And I think that's pretty much it. Let's save the file. Okay, so to review our first server's configuration file, we have set it up so that a host name, which was, I forgot my host name, it was Kieran's server, Counter-Strike server or something. Anyways, that's what we did with the host name. We placed all the log files for this server in the folder logs /server1, which hasn't been created yet, but we are going to create that right now. Use the map listed in cstrike under /mapcycle server1.cfg. That's where all the maps will be stored. And we created the message of the day and some other settings. And we're going to create those files that we declared in our server configuration file. The first thing that we want to do is make sure that you're on cstrike folder to create the map file. So create the map file, which whatever you named earlier. In my case, it was mapcycle server1.cfg. What you can do is just keep on putting the names of the map that you want to round robin. These are the map names. You can have multiple. You can have as many maps that you want. It'll just round robin through every 20 rounds in our case. And for the Motd message of the day, we're going to create Motd server1.txt. And if you forgot, this is the same file that we had earlier, where we said that where our message of the day would be stored. So whatever you type in here, people will see this as soon as they log into your server. So if you have welcome to my awesome server, they'll see this message as soon as they log into your server. And you can actually use simple text, or you can use HTML code. So if you do HTML, welcome to my 24/7 awesome server. So this is basic HTML code. I'm not going to teach you how to write HTML code, but you can do that online. Anyways, you can put in any of the HTML tags in here, and basically all the people who connect to the server will see this message in HTML. Now we're going to save that, and let's see here. Also, another thing is, under this file, what you can do is, instead of typing in the actual HTML code, you can put in the URL. So you can do HTTP, whatever. If you have the message of the file stored somewhere on the internet, you can just put that and remove the HTML code. I don't have it, so I'm just going to remove that. Whatever, I'm just going to remove that. And then, basically, I think we have everything that we need. We have server1.cfg, that's the server configuration file. Map cycle server1.cfg, that's the map configuration file, and the message of the day text file. Now, the only thing that we have to do is launch the server. So if you don't remember how to do that earlier, whoops, I need to go back a directory. You do srd run console game cstrike port 27015, in our case IP 192.168.0.10, 100, map d dust, max players 14, server 1.cfg. So we added this line, this command over here. What this is telling it to do is it's going to look at this configuration file and load all that, so we have all those settings. So basically the console, it enables the console mode, which I was talking about earlier, dash game, when that's the name of the game, in our case cstrike. If you have Half-Life, it would be HL2MP. The port is which port this server should be accessible on. We're using the default 27015 for our first server, so we're going to do that. And for the IP, our internal IP, and map is data's. That's, even though we're declaring this, we could remove that since we already declared this on server1.cfg, but it really doesn't matter. It looks at it, basically loads this file first, and then it checks this file, and if you have something else here, it loads that up, and so on. And max players is how many players you want on your server. 14 is pretty good for this server. And the server1.cfg is the configuration file for the server and all the server settings. And once you execute that, let's see here, there you go, that loads all that, and our game server is live. And to actually test this, I'm going to show you, well, I already have Counter-Strike installed on my other machine, so I'm going to bring that up and show you that this actually does work. So let me just do